And welcome to the Newman City Council regular meeting, January 28th, 2025. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for invocation. Again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God, as we gather here today to serve the people of our city, we humbly ask you for your wisdom and guidance. May our decisions be made with justice, compassion, and a deep understanding of the needs of our community. Grant us the strength to listen attentively, to seek common ground, and to act with integrity in all matters before us. We pray for your blessing on this council and for the well-being of all of our citizens. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Pimentel.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ball.
Here.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Here.
Councilmember Harden.
Here.
Mayor Graham.
Here. Any declarations of conflicts of interest tonight? No? All right. Ceremony matters. Actually, it's a presentation by Beam Circular. Well, we have Karen and Crystal here today. Welcome.
Everyone, should I go ahead and start?
Yeah.
Okay,
Welcome.
great. Thank you so much for having us. My name's Karen Warner. I'm the CEO of Beam Circular, a local nonprofit organization here in Stanislaus County. I grew up here in Stanislaus County in a family that works in ag, and I think like so many folks who grow up here, I'm really proud to be raising my kids here, and I'm so eager to be part of creating and shaping the future of the Valley, anchored right here in Stanislaus County. And we're really excited about that future with Beam. So thanks for this opportunity to share a little bit more about our work. Beam Circular was launched a little over 2 years ago, and we are really anchored in this mission of enabling our local communities to transform waste into both economic prosperity and environmental solutions. We really sit at that intersection, and we came out of local economic development planning work that was really focused on how we create pathways to good jobs in our local community. And as we'll talk about, we're really focused on growing a target industry that is really well suited for basically the superpowers that we have here in the North San Joaquin Valley. The context for our work is also really grounded in some really frank realities, I think, again, that everyone certainly here on the council and community members understand, which is that it is really hard to meet costs of living these days, and especially here in California. We have this really practical challenge in Stanislaus County and in the broader northern San Joaquin Valley, which is that over half of children growing up in our local communities are in families that struggle to make ends meet, so struggle to meet basic costs of living. And that's despite the fact that the vast majority of those children are in families that have at least one working adult in the household. And that's a really important dynamic because it really tells us that while we need to continue to address unemployment and make sure that we are creating new jobs, we also have to focus on the quality of those jobs. Many families in our community are working 1, 2, sometimes more jobs to put food on the table and make sure their kids have a really strong future, and they're still struggling. So as we grow and think about our economy and ways that we want to strengthen local businesses and attract new businesses, we want to make sure that we really have an eye on creating and growing jobs that pay family-sustaining wages. We also recognize that our families and our communities here in the Valley, here in Newman and across Stanislaus County, struggle with some of the worst air quality in the nation. We have among the highest childhood asthma rates here, and we're really vulnerable here in this part of the Valley due to our geology and the makeup of the valley, and then also due to our industries and kind of the trucks that come up and down our region as part of being such an incredible food and ag center of the country. We've got a lot of pollution. So our communities are really vulnerable to pollution, and as we think about making sure that we have communities that are thriving, we want to be growing those industries that are creating those quality jobs and doing so in a way that is creating a more sustainable and healthy future for us on an environmental level. So that's kind of the context for Beam Circular's work. And then I'll share a little bit about kind of the specific history of how we came to be. So our organization was launched in January of 2023, coming out of and as part of the recommendations of the Stanislaus 2030 economic development planning process, which I think most folks are familiar with, but for anyone who isn't, Stanislaus 2030 is a public-private collaboration to really look at and assess what's happening in our local economy, and then identify specific investable strategies for increasing access to those good jobs, expanding access to economic opportunity in our region. And that initial planning process took place from 2021 to 2022. It did a really deep dive on what was going on in the Stanislaus economy, and it identified a number of strategies, some of which are continuing to be advanced by the Stanislaus 2030 partnership in areas such as childcare, talent development, small business development, et cetera. And one strategy that is continuing to be carried forward now and implemented by Beam Circular. And that strategy is an industry strategy focused on attracting and growing the bioeconomy, or bio-based manufacturing here in our region. Our work was seeded by American Rescue Plan Act funds from Stanislaus County, and we've since built and grown a capital stack of over $55 million from private and public sources, federal, state, local, corporate, and philanthropy to help seed and grow this industry and this opportunity in our region. So I'm going to chat a little bit more about exactly what that opportunity and industry is. So at Beam, we talk about this sector as the circular bioeconomy, but you also might hear us use industry terms like bioindustrial manufacturing or bioprocessing, biomanufacturing. I get very much not hung up on the language. This is what this industry is about. It's about taking organic material and making valuable bio-based products. So using biology to create value. We're already really good at doing that here in the Central Valley because that's the foundation of food and agriculture. And what this growing, emerging sector is about taking many of the byproducts or co-products, the residues and waste streams, everything that comes out of our food and ag system, and also a lot of our city and household activities in the form of green waste, and can turn those different materials into new valuable products. So on the left, you have some examples of what we call feedstocks, or the inputs for these bioproducts. That includes things like grape pomace. So those are the seeds and the skins and stems, the stuff that's left behind when we make wine. We've got a lot of grape pomace here in this region from our winemaking activities. We also have a lot of tomato pomace left over from tomato processing, olive pomace, you name it. A lot of the stuff that's left behind from food processing, which can go into compost. Often it's used for animal feed, but generally it's a relatively low value byproduct, and sometimes it's an active cost to the business to manage. We've also got a lot of nutshells and nut holes, as we all know in this region. We've got a ton of woody biomass, so orchard waste, an especially critical priority for our farmers as a ban on agricultural burning rolls out, and we really need economically sensible options for what to do with all of that woody material now that it isn't going to be burned. That's great news for our air quality. It is a challenge for farmers who really need offtake options for all of that woody material. Poultry, livestock, all types of food manufacturing. There are pits and peels and scraps and food waste. There's the green waste that comes out of our households and cities. There is a lot of this type of material coming out of our region. In fact, there's so much that you could fill a line of shipping containers that would stretch from Los Angeles to Portland, Oregon, every single year, just with the waste biomass that comes out of the North San Joaquin Valley, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced counties. That's a lot of stuff. And it's either a challenge or it's an opportunity, because you can take that material and you can turn it into many different types of end products. Right now, we are working with companies that take almond shells and turn those almond shells into fully biodegradable nursery pots that you could, in the future buy at Home Depot or at your local nurseries. We're working with folks who take a locally founded small business that takes watermelon rinds and turns it into super delicious candy that my kids have signed off on. And we're working with a local farmer that's taking nut shells, walnut shells specifically, but also experimenting with sweet potato peels and almond byproducts and turning that into herbicides that are certified for organic agriculture. So it's a lot of different types of things that you can make, from chemicals and materials to bio-based plastics, food products, nutraceuticals, sustainable aviation fuels, agricultural inputs. It's a lot. So the bioeconomy is really, really broad, and there's a lot of different types of technologies in the middle that help you go from the left side of this screen to the right side, from those inputs or those potential waste streams to new valuable bio-based products. The extra exciting news is that that technology has advanced so much over the last couple decades that we are able to make these things in increasingly environmentally friendly ways that reduce pollution and actually can create a circular opportunity where you're taking that waste, putting it back into value, and reducing water and air pollution along the way. So that's the big picture of the sector that we are focused on. Another way to visualize what we're talking about with the circular bioeconomy. There's a lot on this slide. Don't worry too much about the details, but it offers a little bit of a way to imagine what we're talking about here. You've got our legacy activities in agriculture and food processing, in forestry for our neighbors to the east, and those make your primary products up in the right. And then you have these green activities, which are the new types of activities and products that we are really well suited to specialize in here. So you can take those byproducts, turn them into new value, and then improve their end of life so that they don't end up in landfills. And actually, often they can be brought back into our soil in the form of organic fertilizers, soil amendments, biochar, other sorts of inputs that improve soil health and even water retention. So this is this really cool industry. I'm totally fascinated by it. I don't come from the technical and science background, and I've become completely obsessed with talking to all the scientists that make these amazing technologies possible. It turns out that our region here in the North San Joaquin Valley is the best place in the entire country to scale up this type of manufacturing. We're the only region, our 3 counties are the only place in the country that combine leading levels of agricultural production, meaning we've got a lot of that input material, in the same place as a leading concentration of manufacturing activities. We lead California and we lead the country in food processing and food manufacturing at large scale. It means we have the workforce, the supply chain assets, the infrastructure, and the expertise to be really good at manufacturing. You need both of those strengths to be good at bio-based manufacturing. So we are really well suited for this region, and we are surrounded by world leadership in biotechnology and many of the startups and innovations and investment capital that's flowing into this sector. We received a AA rating certification as a bioeconomy development opportunity zone for the North San Joaquin Valley. We are the first certified BDO zone in the state of California and the first in North America to certify a region for its availability of nut tree crop byproducts for biomanufacturing. So what are we doing about this amazing opportunity? We are directly coordinating and investing in the enablers or the conditions that will allow our region to attract and grow this target sector. We want to do this because this target industry has jobs that are accessible to our local residents. 80% of the jobs in bioindustrial manufacturing do not require an advanced degree. That lines up with our population and the proportion of folks who don't have a college degree. But the skill sets are very similar to what you need in food manufacturing and other industries that we're already really good at. At the same time, the average jobs in bioindustrial manufacturing pay 30% more than the median wages in our existing region. So this is an opportunity to bring in and diversify our economy, build upon existing strengths in ways that actually complement and benefit existing food, ag, and manufacturing activities that are here. This is good for existing industry, while bringing in new opportunities, new value opportunities, and new higher paid jobs. So we're investing in the different things that we need to do as a region to attract and nurture and grow this sector. At Beam Circular specifically, we are coordinating partnerships across the North San Joaquin Valley to make our region the global leader in the circular bioeconomy. We are investing in workforce development opportunities, so we support local schools and education institutions all the way from K-12 through community colleges and universities, workforce training providers to support and create programs and pathways into the good jobs in this growing industry. We also support partnerships in research and innovation so that local farmers and local food processors can work with innovators to find new opportunities and new markets for their byproducts so that we can use those local materials for highest value. We do a lot of business and economic development work on behalf of the region, so essentially marketing the North San Joaquin Valley to the world, helping to attract those new employers, but also launching and deploying resources and capacity building programs for local entrepreneurs and local businesses so that they can participate in and thrive in this growing industry and as part of the supply chain. We do work around community prosperity to engage local communities from across the region to be part of this growing opportunity and to ensure that we're creating a healthy and prosperous local community as we grow this opportunity sector. And then we do work in public policy, including in partnership with our local municipalities. We have a brand new VP of Public Policy, Crystal Lachert, who also grew up here in Stanislaus County and has an incredible background working with the state of California, who is really going to be coming alongside all of our public partners to make sure that we are supporting folks in navigating this new industry. And we're also elevating industry needs and priorities to policymakers at the state and the federal level so that we can continue to support and create an environment in which this industry can thrive locally. And then finally, we have launched a number of what we call anchor projects. These are large, exciting projects that in various ways are really going to catalyze and accelerate the circular bioeconomy in our region. That includes CBio Collaborative, the name of our network of partners that we've cultivated across the region. That's co-led by UC Merced and Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. It includes over 70 members currently, and we are always inviting more. So please join us and become a part of that collaborative. We've launched a startup accelerator program, which is actually going to be welcoming its first cohort of 6 incredible startups in just a couple weeks in mid-February. We'll be announcing that cohort soon, and we received over 90 applications for 5 slots in that accelerator program. Incredible demand, both locally and internationally, from companies who want to scale their businesses here. We ended up adding a 6th slot to the cohort because the applications were so strong, so we got some funding to add in a 6th spot. And we'll be continuing to run that accelerator program to help grow startups into successful scaling businesses that create jobs. We have a portal that supports connections between feedstock suppliers and users that we are building in partnership with a number of collaborators. In the future, we're looking to develop an investment fund that would be operated in connection with community to support local businesses and attract new businesses to the region. And then we have an innovation campus that we're going to be developing here in Stanislaus County. We've been completing the design work and the planning work for that project. We'll be entering the next phase of development, including site selection in the coming months, to really develop an anchor asset that's going to be a jewel not only for our region, but frankly for the state of California, that fills a really critical need for shared infrastructure that helps these bio-based companies move from the lab to commercial scale and validate their sustainable technologies for biomanufacturing. So this is kind of a snapshot of our work, bringing it down to the more like practical level. So what are opportunities for real life community members, businesses, and other collaborators? We have funding and resources. We have technical assistance and support available for you, and you can come to our website to learn more. So we have resources right now, funding resources available for local businesses, including folks who work in food and ag, for local processors and manufacturers, and folks who are directly in this bio-based product space. We absolutely have local companies already emerging in this sector, and we really want to support them on their path. But we also want to be working with local companies who have an opportunity to innovate and perhaps become suppliers or other partners in this growing sector. We have a lot of resources for schools and educators to help advance, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math programming, as well as CTE, career and technical education opportunities at our local high schools. We would love to work with schools and educators here in Newman. We have so many pilot projects already launched at schools across the North San Joaquin Valley, and I'm just really excited to see that work continue to expand. We work directly with community members through a variety of education and capacity building programs. We really are looking to continue to ground our work in the feedback and input of local communities. We've engaged over 1,000 community members in our community conversation events and workshops that we host throughout the community to help inform our continued planning and refinement of our strategies and get people engaged in the work, so please join us. And we also partner and collaborate with local government, and we would love to explore ways that we could work with the city of Newman as you evaluate and explore ways you might want to lean into this growing industry opportunity in our region. So that's kind of an overview of what we offer and what we do at Beam Circular. We have a growing collaborative of partners from the private sector, including food and ag industry representatives, manufacturers, as well as bioeconomy folks. As I mentioned, our education partners, regional economic development initiatives and organizations, community organizations, our national partners, including really leading experts in the national and global bioeconomy, as well as local and state government and investors. Continuing to grow this network, and really would love to welcome folks to get involved and let us know how we can support you and work alongside you as we work to really deliver both quality jobs and a really healthy environment for our local communities. Some information here on links, and just would love to, I don't know if there's a format or time for questions, but afterwards or in any format, really welcome the opportunity to connect, and our team would love to collaborate and sit down with you as well.
Any questions? No. Any questions from you guys?
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Absolutely.
I noticed that you said you had resources for educators. I'm an educator.
Yay,
So I was
great.
really interested in that, and you said it is STEM-based. Is that correct?
So we do a lot of STEM-based education to support the pipeline, especially at early levels, but we also do pathways into manufacturing work, so a lot of CTE collaboration, for example, pathways into maintenance mechanic roles, or other variety of positions that are in demand in manufacturing, and I will highlight. Those are jobs that are in demand and often pay really great wages at local employers that local employers are looking to fill now, and they are jobs that will be in demand in the future. So we do a lot of deep collaboration around STEM, as well as, again, trades that are in demand in manufacturing.
I think that's really important, especially when students can connect with what's around us, right? Agriculture, and they don't see, maybe they're just focused on social media and what's going on there, and they don't see how it can make a connection with what we're doing here now. So I think this is, thank you. It's very informative.
The connections with both manufacturing and the agriculture industry are so direct. We've been exploring some really interesting programs in which students get to do field work where they're participating in things like soil sampling and other roles that are skills, again, that actually are quite in demand in agriculture right now and will be really important in the growing bioeconomy. So much collaboration opportunities with our current industry, and then being a part of growing the future of the valley.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Karen, thank you. Outstanding presentation. It looks like there's a lot of growth going on in what you showed us, so that's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to connect. And again, please keep in touch. We're really excited to collaborate as things move ahead. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Item number 7, items from the public, non-agenda items. Anybody wishing to speak tonight? Go step up to the podium, name and address, and
Good evening. My name is Mary Arreyes Romo. I live at 1289 Amy Drive here in Newman. I was wanting to be placed on next month's agenda to discuss the animal shelter, its updates, and its deadline on when it will be completed. I had emailed because I've been ill, that's why I'm masked, but it was denied due to non-format, but there's no suggestion of a template as to what the format should be. So I apologize that I'm here, but I didn't know how else to do it.
You have anything on that?
We don't have, we're currently, our public works director and our chief of police are currently working on active plans. We're not at a point where we have a schedule yet. But we have plans that we've shared with our animal control officer. We've shared that with the PD. So it's just a matter, we have to get our courtyard built. So that way we create room to expand out at our current animal control shelter. So we'll keep you updated on what it is. We'll respond to you in writing about what our current schedule is, but we don't have a hard schedule yet other than rough timeline. Basically, we're trying to get a lot of the design work for our courtyard done in the next 3 to 6 months, so we can start moving features that are at our current courtyard to the new site that would clear room to expand out the animal control.
So the suggestion is then that hopefully by sometime this year, after that the new shelter updates.
Again, it's hard to tell you what it is because we haven't run the cost yet. Mm-hmm. But let us do some due diligence on our part, and we'll respond to you.
That'd be great.
I'm currently dealing with 4 wild kittens in my backyard, and a few mama kittens that are also wild. So I understand the frustration. We are stretched to our limits right now on what we're able to do because of our facilities, but it's definitely a goal of mine, and I know it's a goal of the city to really improve upon our facilities. We've got the staff, we've got the want, we've got the effort. It's just we really do need the brick and mortar. We need the assistance. I don't know. It is. Has anybody ever tried to catch a wild chicken?
I'm a regular
kitten
rescue finder, and
okay.
So I'm on board with Bree. Support her 1,000%.
Yeah.
There are many more in the community as well. So I just don't know how to approach it. Like I had been suggested to email. I would love it if there was a generic template that for those of us who are just trying to get on the agenda, that way we know what you're expecting and needing from us. That would be huge. Just a suggestion.
The best opportunity to get onto the agenda, what we generally tell people, is to come to this forum right now, which is items from the public, and talk to the council and ask them if you can get them to support your request. That's the best way to get it onto the agenda.
To come here.
Correct.
Okay.
So the idea to put you on the agenda right now would probably be a little premature because we don't have all of our items in a row. But again, we'll have the chief of police reach out to you, and he'll be in contact with you in terms of keeping you updated on how that's progressing.
That would be great. That's all I wanted to do is help. I've lived here since 1975, and I can tell you that shelter's been in the same location. It's slightly larger, but we have to do better. The animals deserve better. Bree deserves better space to do what she needs to do to help the animals. They're a priority. So I thank you for your time, and I look forward to having contacts with any of you and the police department, and I'll keep communicating with Bree as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Item 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolution except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the January 14th, 2025 meeting. D, adopt resolution 2025 next number, resolution accepting the capital facilities fees annual report.
Move we adopt the consent calendar.
We have a first. Second. We have a second. Going to vote electronically. Motion carries 5-0. Public hearings none. Regular business none. Items from county supervisor none. City manager and staff. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I just wanted to thank Ms. Karen Walker for coming out to Newman tonight, and your presentation was very, very enlightening. I'm glad we get this live streamed and people can watch it, because really she's talking about next generation kind of technology. This is where you take Stanislaus County to the next level. And the next level is to start utilizing the resources that we have here and add value to them. And by adding value, you're adding more jobs and higher paying jobs. So we have to applaud her and everything that her and her crew are doing over there and trying to bring that to the forefront because, again, this is what our kids are looking for. And the trades program that she's talking about, it's very valuable, especially in our community. There's a lot of people that go into the trades, and if you get into the right trade, you can make good money off of it. And so, getting them trained early and getting them trained well is the key to that, and helping them to identify avenues for them to start moving down towards is good. So, again, thank you, Karen, for all you and your team do. We appreciate it. Just an update, at our last Planning Commission meeting, Planning Commission approved the construction of a 3,900 square foot veterinary hospital. So True Blue on the south side of town is going to build a new veterinary hospital over there. Looking like they're probably hoping to break ground probably in the fall. They're breaking ground in a new facility in the community to the north, and then they'll be coming here to do that one. We had originally been selected by Congressman Duarte to receive a community-funded project, and that was $750,000 to demo the Foster Farm site. As you know, that was not included in the continuing resolution, so that funding has not come through yet. So I reached out to our new Congressman Gray's office, and had a phone call with his chief of staff, and they're going to try to carry our project forward. They liked our project. We sent them the project. They're going to try to carry it forward, and hopefully it'll be in the next funding bill that's probably due in March. So we're hoping to move that forward so that we can demo that site, get rid of the asbestos, and at that point, then we can find a private developer to come in and redevelop that site. It's half a city block, so it's a good opportunity for somebody to come in, and the goal is, and for the new council members, ground floor commercial, second, possibly a third floor of residential to go over there. So do some affordable housing down in the downtown as well as do some more commercial space. And then part of that will also be, I'll be doing a economic development meeting next week, SIDS, it's a countywide project, and so we're going to probably try to include that. So the first step is if you get on your countywide SEDS program, Community Economic Development Plan, then we'll be eligible for some funding, and then we're going to do that as well as our the tear down of the McBride and building that into a business and training center there. So we'll try to get those moving on. And that's all that I had, and I can answer any questions the council may have.
Sorry, selective hearing.
Yeah.
Is there an EDAC meeting next week?
There's not. Just we're working with one of their consultants.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Allie, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Not too much to report other than we do still have Kajukembo every Thursday night at the Memorial Building from 6 to 7 p.m. Anybody interested can register at the Teen Center. We currently have adult basketball every Saturday at YOLO from 6 to 9 p.m. from anybody interested in participating. And we are also taking subscriptions. KEO is for adult volleyball. If you're interested, visit us at the Teen Center. We can guide you the right way, or we can guide you to KEO. We also we're halfway through our basketball season. We have, after this week, 3 more weeks, and we will have finalized our 2025 basketball season. With that, I can answer any questions that y'all may have.
One quick question.
Sure.
We do the adult basketball and things of that nature, but I've never seen that information out there easily to get to people. Have we looked at doing flyers or something to send home with the kids? It's typically a younger audience when it comes to the parents for those that have kids in the system. So it might hit more of those folks that are more into the athletic side of things and more active in the after hours of work.
We could definitely look into working with Peach Jar and the school system into getting that information out there to them.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Lieutenant?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Bree would like to come up and give you an update on animal services.
Okay. Welcome, Bree.
Hi. Good evening, council members. I just wanted to do a little annual number update of our intakes and whatnot, and give you perspective as to where we are from 2022 when I started. So 2022, we intook 135 cats and 135 dogs. 2023, that jumped to 309 cats and 263 dogs. This year was 281 cats and 267 dogs. So we're going up. I've been pushing microchipping. I've had 2 free microchip clinics, and I got a grant for free ID tags and collars to try to get dogs back home. That's my goal. I don't want them in the shelter, so we're trying to decrease intake. Obviously, it's not completely working, but it's a little bit more consistent in 2023 and 2024, so I'm hoping that that's made an impact. Adoptions have went down from 2023 to 2024, as well as rescues and return to owners. I don't know why that is. There's been a lot more dump dogs because of Stan County not taking in animals. That's been a big impact on us, and people not knowing what to do when they find a stray dog. So I'm trying to educate the community on what to do if they find a loose dog. Maybe not pick it up and take it 2 towns away, and then it gets loose and it's nowhere near its home. So getting that information out there is definitely on my list. Push for the new shelter, of course. We had a couple parvo outbreaks with our shelters. We have gaps in our kennels. So if one dog's sick, it's really hard to keep the other dogs from not getting sick. So we had a couple months where any dog that was under a year old was getting parvo, which increased our medical expenses. So that's a big problem. And then fence fighting as well. I'm working with Cause for Paws to see if we can get a fence around our play yard so that the dogs aren't going up to the kennels while they're doing their playtime, their potty time, whatever you want to call it. Because we had some incidents where that caused medical injuries, which also increased our medical costs. Pushing for spay and neuter, and cracking down on backyard breeding. That's also something I've been working on. People continue to breed, obviously, or not fixing their animals, and that is a big contribution to our intakes continuing to rise. So I've been applying for grants, trying to get some low-cost spay and neuter, because I know that costs are also skyrocketing, and I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And I think once we get to that new shelter, we might be able to increase those opportunities for the community to get their animals spayed, neutered, vaccinated, microchipped, all that stuff. And I wanted to ask if there's anything you guys had, like concerns, questions, or anything that we can do better this coming year.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your hard work, by the way. You are very responsive, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
If a citizen says, I took in a cat or I took in a dog, but I just can't afford to get it spayed or neutered, what can we tell that citizen?
Depends. Right now I'm using my cat program to kind of help citizens get their cats fixed. That doesn't work for dogs, though. So right now I only have vouchers available for seniors and low income. So if they do qualify for either one of those, then they can get a voucher to take their dog to True Blue. It's still $175, which is a lot to a low-income family, but it's less than half what they're going to pay at the vet. So we do offer that. We just have a limited amount of vouchers.
Yeah, I just know every time we take our dog to the vet,
It goes up and up.
Mia gets home and I'm like, $264 for what? And that's not even spayed or neutered. And it tends to be the people that don't have the means that take in free pets who need those services.
Yes, absolutely. And they just need help. They want to do the right thing, but they just need help. I've had a couple people who take in dogs and financially just can't do it. And I just don't have the resources to take in that dog and help them out. But we try to help them out other ways, but the new facility will definitely help with that. So I'm excited for this year.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question. I'm sorry. So you mentioned that you make efforts to educate the community. Which ways do you do that? Is it through social media? Is it
mostly? Yes, mostly social media, flyers, as well as at our clinics. I try to go through the line and talk to the community. But if you have any other suggestions, I'm open to it.
Well, I was going to ask you if you have any suggestions for us, maybe how we can help as well as the council. Maybe sharing posts.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and maybe I can work with the newspaper and get a little blurb in the newspaper as well.
Okay, thank you.
The Facebook is really informative. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bree. Thank you for all your hard work. I know you work hard.
Thank you, guys.
We all appreciate it.
And I have nothing else to add for the police department, but can answer any questions that you may have.
Just one question. I've observed lately, it seems like we've had a little bit more of a homeless presence in the city limits. And I've noticed even in the dirt lot right there across from the Newman Foods, where a gentleman was sleeping with his head on the sidewalk pretty close to the road. It felt a little unsafe. There were 2 black and white cruisers that were nearby, so it seemed like they're keeping an eye on them at least. But just curious if there's other opportunities for us to figure out a way to put them in a safer area, at least for the night, rather than on the corner of a crosswalk.
I don't know why he chose the corner there for his place to rest for a few days there. Usually you'll find that individual in the park, or he likes to be in the plaza. So evidently he just went there for a few days. I have no idea why. Usually he likes to be close to a power source to charge his phone. But it's one individual. He just has a lot of possessions.
Yeah, I brought him some food over at the plaza when he was over there, but I noticed it was pretty messy over there as well. So it didn't seem very safe for kids to be in the area at the time he was there. So I'm just looking for what we can do to put a positive influence for the community and promote safety, as well as be able to help individuals that are in need. Thank you.
Got nothing to report tonight, but happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thomas?
Good evening. I wanted to first talk about update about our well 5. Most of you, and I know the council is aware of our notification that went out about a high nitrate level at well number 5. So currently that well is offline. It's not putting any water into the distribution system. The letter was, as said on the letter, it was a requirement by the state and federal regulations to send out. With that in mind, we are waiting on the Department of Drinking Water to give us a compliance letter, and in that will be a path to return either well 5 into service or compliance options. And currently our plan is to leave well number 5 offline, and in the short term to remove it from the distribution system so it has no possibility of putting water into there, while we investigate additional other solutions to that well 5. It acts as a backup well. It's online only when needed in an emergency. However, the other 4 wells that are currently online are more than able to keep up with any demands. And just to reiterate, the water in town is safe to use for all regular uses, including drinking and cooking. And I can answer any questions about that. And I have a couple other topics to talk about, but I'd break for questions.
Just for confirmation for people watching, if that well was to put water on, it was 0.5 over, it would be diluted by all the other wells' water to a safer level, correct?
Yes. So that well as a weighted, if you think about it as the amount of water that well 5 put into our distribution system comparative to the other wells from an October to January timeframe, and we used October to January because October was the last nitrate sampling for that well. It is a quarterly requirement. And so in that time frame, it was about a 2% contribution to the overall distribution system. And so that water gets put into the system and used quite quickly. Within the same day, our cycling of the distribution system, it goes through the cycling natural use. And so even during if there was an elevated nitrate level, and that water that went into the system and then shut off after sampling is cycled through quickly. Any other questions?
Speaking of the other wells, during that same quarter period, how many other wells were close proximity of being over or at the high side? Is it measured by what, the hundreds?
It's milligrams per liter, and so the MCL is 10 milligrams per liter, which is parts per million, and The next highest measurement, I believe, was was well 5 at 8.43. Our other wells are much less than that. And depending on the level of nitrates is the sampling frequency.
Thank you.
So the other 4 wells were, I don't have the exact numbers on me, but they were much lower than well 5.
So the people have nothing to worry about.
There is nothing to worry about, yes. And to reiterate, that letter is a requirement. And so it goes out as what they call a tier 1 public notice as a requirement, and especially for areas where they don't have the ability to remove a well from the system. And so for us, that does stay online as a backup. Currently, it's offline, and so that's. So if that well needed to be ran, that letter lives, is given to the public for reference until we're able to address the compliance from the state.
Since we had a high level off of that well, are we going to do periodic testing, not just quarterly, just until we get it?
So the sampling frequency will increase initially to monthly sampling, and we are planning on taking monthly nitrate samples from that well. And however, just to be clear, when we do take the sample moving forward, it will be sampled what you call to waste. And so the well is ran, but it's not. The water's not sent into the distribution system. It's discharged into like the storm drain or into the environment, which we're permitted to do. And so that will be sampled monthly in conjunction with guidance from the Department of Drinking Water, the State Water Board, on how to develop a solution for that well.
And is it analyzed by the state?
It's analyzed by
the Elk Grove facility?
Oh, sorry. Repeat that question. Sorry, I started answering you a little too quick.
So is that analyzed by the state up at the Elk Grove facility?
So when we send any of our water out for analysis, it's sent to what they call an E-lab. It's an environmental laboratory that's regulated by the state. And so it's a certified lab that performs those samples. And so we use primary lab out of Turlock, but there are other E-lab certified laboratories in the area.
Thank
you. Any other questions on that?
Just a little bit more on the well, not to beat it to death, but no. We have 5 wells out there, 2 that are primary from what I understand, and you have the other 3 that are backup. As we take a look at this well being higher, what kind of trend analysis do you guys do to understand by the depth of the other wells what the levels are raising to? If there's a potential at once at 8.5, what's the amount of time before we expect that to potentially hit the 10 parts per million? And we might be looking at maybe either digging our wells deeper to support the city infrastructure growth as well as new homes that are being introduced.
So the nitrates in the groundwater come from many different sources, right? And so it's not necessarily a linear increase. It doesn't. If you see 8.4, 9.4, 10.4, it doesn't necessarily mean it's increasing, that trending like that. There are plumes in the groundwater of various constituents, right? And one of them can be nitrate. And we use our data from our wells. Additionally, there are monitoring wells, like say out at the wastewater plant and throughout the Delta Mendota subbasin to monitor some of those constituents or the pollutants in the groundwater. We don't necessarily trend with the purpose of saying that this well will eventually be here. However, we do take into account that we've seen elevated levels of various constituents, including the nitrates in the groundwater. And so with that in mind, when we approach replacing a well or putting a new well in for to increase the ability to supply water to the community, we take that into account. And there's investigations on a well site along with investigative wells for it, right? Sampling wells. And so we would do a due diligence to find the correct place and depth of a new well if needed, or any future wells, and that's part of one piece of the master plan for water. So,
Thank you.
yes. Good. Okay. In addition, some of you may have noticed there was a water line repair in front of Von Renner. It was a little bit larger repair. It took all morning to replace a tree root had pushed up, and so there might have been some minor disruptions to the school. Public Works tried to keep those disruptions to minimum in account. I believe Monday's the minimum day, or short or early release, I think is what you call it, right? I remember minimum day. And so that line was replaced. It's sand and road base there now as the area dries up, and then we'll be putting a coal patch on top and compacting that down. In addition to that, Jensen Road improvements, I mentioned last council meeting. However, we have a small update on the start. It will be February 5th, next Wednesday. We should have notifications to that section of town that may access Jensen Road, that we will have Jensen Road closed from 33 over to sorry, just drew a blank. And so we'll have door hangers go out. We're going to remove some trees in that area, and we're projecting if the weather stays clear, a good timeline on the completion of that project. In addition, as a reminder, we'll be doing our point in time count will occur on Thursday, and we'll do a count of the unhoused in the area. And that information is then given to the county, and the county develops a full report, and that helps gather funding for the state and the county. And that's where some of the services can be, they may approach the county for some services if needed for that. And if any other questions, answer them.
Mayor, just real quick. Thomas meant to say the closure is Jensen Road from Highway 33 to Fig Lane.
Yes.
Just point of clarification for anybody in the public who might be watching.
Thank you.
Tim?
Nothing else to add. Have a good week.
Demento?
Oh, great presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great presentation. There's been some other companies that I've heard that are doing similar things. So it's exciting to see it finally reach the valley for us to be able to start seeing the benefits. I did want to mention something that came to mind, and that was the sand and the water pipes that we had some chatter that I'd seen online that I called Tom about, got a great education on it. Since we have it on televised for streaming, it'd be good just to let people know if they do have that issue, they can contact and see about having that water cycled if they're getting sand in their pipes. So they don't go unheard. I do see that out there, and if they contact the city, I know you guys take care of them. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of it.
Yeah, if I may, please call Public Works if you do see sound, and we can help investigate the issue. If it's from a well or from a flow direction change, it could happen in cul-de-sacs or dead ends. And so anytime you do see that, let us know by either going on the city's website and submitting a form, emailing, or calling Public Works. You could call the city and just kind of tell them why, and they'll get us to Public Works, or option 3. And then with that in mind, it sometimes can be different equipment you have installed in your house. For example, the newer tankless water heaters, because we do have hard water, those extreme temperature changes results in the deposits of that hard water into it. So it ends up being, it looks like sand, but not necessarily is sand. And so it could be that. And so we'll help investigate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for everybody being here, and have a great night. As for adjournment,
I move we adjourn.
first, second. Adjourn. Thank you, everyone.